Welcome to Design Your Ramadan. Every year, people go through Ramadan, and majority of the times, when Ramadan finishes, almost every single Muslim says, I could have done better, or it wasn't as good as I wanted. What if we could change all of that? And what if at the end of Ramadan, you say, Alhamdulillah, it was an amazing Ramadan, I achieved everything I wanted to achieve, and you feel that your Ramadan was accepted. So, welcome to Design Your Ramadan. So the first thing we ask is, how do I want to start and end my Ramadan? What do I want to achieve this Ramadan? First things first, you are responsible for your Ramadan. The Prophet ﷺ, he says, when Ramadan comes, the gates of paradise are opened, the gates of hell are closed, and the devils are chained up. In other words, you're on your own. I always say, plan like you have 20 Ramadans, but worship like it's your last. You don't just have one Ramadan in your life. Most people, they like to do everything possible in this Ramadan because, worship like it's your last. But then what happens is that they fall short at the end. The idea is that have a strategy. Plan like you have 20 Ramadans, but worship like it's your last. So this way here, you can have, for example, this Ramadan, I want to establish this one good deed this Ramadan. And I'm only going to focus on this one deed. It might be Salat al-Duha, it might be an additional 2 rakats of tahajjud, but it's something that I want to establish that continues after Ramadan. And if you've got a plan, like for example, over 10 years, that every single year you establish one thing, within 10 years, mashallah, you're flying in your ibadah, and it's not just up, down every single Ramadan. The Prophet ﷺ, he said, indeed the rewards of deeds performed depend on the last actions. So how you end your Ramadan and how you seal your Ramadan is how it'll be accepted. You'll see on this graph, you have an axis that says the month of Ramadan, and then the other axis which has spirituality. Traditionally, people get excited at the beginning of Ramadan, and then it dies, and then in the last 10 nights, has a little kink, and then on the 27th night, it spikes up, and then it goes all the way back down, and khalas, people, they finish after 27 days. However, if you actually look at the right way to do things, or an effective way to do things, is that let it go up step by step, even if it's slow. So by the end of Ramadan, you'll realize that how it ends is higher than how it would traditionally. You cannot do the same thing every year and expect different results. As we've learned, if nothing changes, nothing changes. It's important for us to understand Ramadan and why we fast, because it has an impact in our ibadah. It's important also to understand that there are two concepts. One is Ramadan, one is fasting. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in the verse that talks about fasting, doesn't mention Ramadan. He said, fasting was prescribed upon you like it was prescribed upon those before you, that you may gain taqwa. You may be conscious of Allah. And when it comes to Ramadan, the verse in the Quran that mentions Ramadan, it says the month of Ramadan is the month in which the Quran was revealed as a guidance for mankind. So the month of Ramadan is focusing around the Quran in order to be guided, in order to change, in order for it to have an effect on you and your belief and understanding. And the fasting also has an objective too. So we're going to break up our Ramadan and set some goals based on these categories. The first one is actual fasting. Real fasting is not just from food and drinks and relations. The Prophet ﷺ, he said, verily fasting is not only from eating and drinking, rather fasting is from vanity and obscenity. And he also says, whoever does not give up false speech and evil deeds while fasting, then Allah is not in need of his leaving food and drink. So it's not just fasting from food, drink and relations, it's fasting from bad behavior and conduct and feelings and so on. Ramadan, since it's a month of the Quran, read the Quran. Learn something of the tafsir. Learn something of the tajweed. Our recitation of Surah Al-Fatiha and other surahs that we read, to sharpen them up so we recite it properly. And also, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, Iqra, read. So read about Ramadan, read about fasting and the rules of fasting and the rulings of fasting and so on. Salah, put goals for yourself that I want to, for example, pray Fajr in the masjid every single day. Or I want to commit to praying every night Taraweeh. Or I want to, introduce Salat al-Duha in my life, and I'm going to do it during Ramadan. So after Ramadan, I continue it. And this is inshallah a sign that your Ramadan is accepted, where your life before and after are different. Dhikr, the Prophet ﷺ used to do dhikr every single day in the morning and in the evening. And this is something that should be a staple part of the believer's life, of the Muslim's life. The morning adhkar and the evening adhkar is the fuel for your body and the fuel for your iman. And it's something the Prophet ﷺ, he never left. So learn the adhkar of the morning and in the evening. And this is something that once you begin and do it during Ramadan, your life is different and you can't live without it. Also in the month of Ramadan, dua. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, ask, I will respond. And also during fasting, the Prophet ﷺ, he says, the dua that is made at the time of breaking fast is accepted and not rejected. So it's double emphasis that the dua that you make at iftar time is accepted. So find what you want and ask Allah during those times. So read something together, pray together, do something together, build that Ramadan culture within your family. The second is cut time wasters. TV, social media, detox your life. You won't die and you'll connect with Allah instead of connecting with social media. This is one of the biggest, benefits. This is one of the biggest distractions during Ramadan. So cut time wasters and you'll see how your Ramadan experiences. As far as your relatives and neighbors and so on, reach out to them, wish them well for Ramadan Mubarak, and obviously during Eid and so on. Engage with them, provide some iftar meals, for them, and invite them as well for iftar. And again, let iftar be simple, not lavish. And also, the way that you deal with people during Ramadan, as the Prophet ﷺ, he said that if someone comes to you and is very obscene and rude and you are fasting, then you should say, I am fasting, I am fasting. When you are fasting, your behavior and conduct should be a lot more better. And remember to not have anything in your heart, to clean your heart towards people that might have harmed you. Ramadan is a month of forgiveness, and if you want Allah to forgive you, you should be quick to forgive others. And in order for you to forgive others, it means someone has done something to you. So if someone does something to you, it's an opportunity to forgive in order for Allah to forgive you too. So deal with people like you're dealing with Allah. Fasting should give you more energy, not less. It's not how you fast, but how you break your fast. And during Ramadan, the foods that we break our fast on should be a lot more wholesome and healthy. If you eat junk, you're going to feel like junk. And if you eat wholesome, you're going to feel wholesome. And what you eat and how much you eat also impacts the way that you pray your taraweeh and your salah. You either enjoy your salah or you're going to be suffering if you eat too much. One hadith that comes to mind is the Prophet ﷺ, he said, a believer eats in one intestine. In other words, he's satisfied with a little bit of food. And a disbeliever eats in 7 intestines. In other words, they eat too much. You find that this is now becoming the norm amongst the Muslims. And we need to come back to the Prophet ﷺ's teachings that eating less is better. The main thing that differentiates the fasting of the Muslims to the fasting of the nations of the past is one thing, and that is suhoor, which is a pre-dawn meal. The Prophet ﷺ, he said, eat suhoor, for in suhoor there is blessings. So it doesn't have to be a lot. Some dates, some fruits, hydration, your water, so you can last throughout the day. Some slow burning sugars, protein. These are good things to eat during suhoor, but eat it, there is barakah in it, and you can last throughout the whole day a lot more easier. One thing that helps as well during Ramadan is that if you pre-pack your meals, you cook 30 meals before Ramadan, and you put them in containers and you put them in the freezer. All your Ramadan meals are done. So you don't have to spend your whole Ramadan cooking. In regards to breaking our fast, obviously the Prophet ﷺ used to break his fast on dates and water. So have your dates, have your water, have a small meal, whether it's some soup. If you want to go out after you've broken your fast and pray Maghrib and then come back, you'll find that you don't need to eat as much. Your stomach has already begun digesting the water and the dates and so on. So you eat less and you feel a lot more better as well. Make sure you stay hydrated, drinking water throughout the night, because you don't want to be dehydrated. It affects many things. And you make sure you stay hydrated during Ramadan. What about work during Ramadan? A lot of people still work during Ramadan. That's not a bad thing. That's a good thing. You actually become more productive. And in addition to that, your work is your ibadah. And if you want to really, increase your spirituality and your iman during Ramadan for work, before you go to work, take wudu. And when you enter your work, raise your hands and say, Ya Allah, put barakah in my work today. Let it feel like it's a ibadah. And you'll find that your work brings about just as much spirituality as your fasting as well. Ramadan is an amazing opportunity to clean up our habits, our good habits and our bad habits. Look and make a list. What are my bad habits that I need to remove? And what are my good habits that I would like to improve? And use Ramadan as an opportunity, because the fact that shaitan is tied down and the shayateen are tied down is a good opportunity to be victorious over your nafs and over these bad habits, and it's a lot more easier to remove them. So write down what you want to remove in yourself and write down a list of what you want to improve in yourself as well. Sadaqah is a major part of Ramadan, and the Prophet ﷺ, it was said that he was the most generous of people, and he was the most generous during Ramadan. He also says in another hadith that the best charity anyone can give is the charity in Ramadan. And he also says that charity doesn't decrease wealth. So Ramadan is a time to spend more on the needy or giving in sadaqah more than you would outside. And this was the way of the Prophet ﷺ. My advice is spend every single day. It could be 5 cents, it could be $1 million, and anything in between. But don't automate it, or don't just give once a week or on Jum'ah or something like this. Give something every single day consciously, and what it does, it begins to purify your heart and gets it used to giving every single day, even if it's only $1 or $5 or whatever it might be. But instead of just giving it in one lump sum and saying done, it's not the amount, it's the habit and the virtue and the ritual of giving every single day. And when is the best time to give? Give it in the morning. Because the Prophet ﷺ says that the angels, they make dua in the morning. Oh Allah, give whoever gives. And he also says, destroy whoever holds back. So giving in the morning is also a reason and a means that Allah will continue giving you as well. Also, another amazing idea is doing a joint sadaqah project together with some friends or some family. Say for example, you want to build a water well in Somalia and it costs $5,000. You say to your family and friends, we're going to build this water well, or I want to build this water well. I'm going to start with $100, and whoever wants to join, let's do it and finish it by the end of Ramadan. And you'll find with the barakah of Allah that everyone will give something, so long as you keep sharing it, and you get the reward, or everyone will get the reward of the whole water well, even though they only contributed a small amount. But there is, bring people into an opportunity of doing good during Ramadan. Charity doesn't only mean money. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, O Muhammad, tell my servants who have believed to establish prayer and spend from what we have provided them, secretly and publicly, before a day comes in which there will be no exchange nor any friends. What has Allah given us? He has given us time, He has given us skills, He has given us a network of people, He has given us resources, He has given us muscles. Whatever Allah has given me, let me give it in sadaqah. If I've got time, I will give my time for Allah, for people that are in need, for anyone that needs help. If I've got money, I will give it as well. If I've got a skill that I can use to help someone in Ramadan, I will. If I've got muscles and people need help and they need physical help, I'll use my muscles. Whatever Allah has provided me with, I give it in sadaqah. If you've ever been wanting to do good deeds, Ramadan is the best opportunity and the perfect opportunity to do them. Why? The multiplication of hasanat is more in Ramadan than it is outside of the year. So compete with each other and race and strive in order to do good deeds, any types of good deeds during the month of Ramadan. If you can be unknown in doing so, the more sincere you can be, the better it is. And finally, ask yourself, if this was the last Ramadan that I would live on this earth, what would I do this Ramadan that will continue as an investment for me in the akhirah after I pass away? And if this is my last Ramadan, it could be something big, it could be something very small and sincere. What do I want to do this Ramadan if it was my last Ramadan? And I don't necessarily have to tell you, but I'm asking this question for you to think yourself and say, with what I have, my circumstances, the opportunities around me, my life, if there's one thing I can do if this was my last Ramadan, what could it be? And finally, we could have many goals during Ramadan in all these categories that we just mentioned, and we should. However, we should also ask, if I only had one thing to achieve this Ramadan, one goal, what is that goal? And this is a measure like what they would say in business. What does success look like to you? Put one goal that if Ramadan passes and all I achieve is this one goal, I've succeeded. And my final advice for Ramadan is Ramadan shouldn't begin at Ramadan. Ramadan should begin before. Whether it's in Rajab or Sha'ban, begin fasting 1 day a week in Rajab and begin fasting 2 days a week in Sha'ban, or maybe even 1 day yes, 1 day no. So by the time you come to Ramadan, you're already flying in your fasting. And what else you can do before Ramadan is buy your Eid gifts. So you don't spend the last 10 nights of Ramadan, which are the most valuable nights, worrying about what Eid gifts we want to get and spending time in the shopping centers instead of spending time in the masajid. And on the last day of Ramadan, after Salatul Maghrib, after you finish your Maghrib Salah, raise your hands and say, رَبَّنَا تَقَبَّلْ مِنَّا إِنَّكَ أَنْتَ السَّمِيعُ الْعَلِيمُ. Oh Allah, accept from us. Indeed, you are the all-seer, all-knower. And we ask Allah that He accepts our Ramadan and accepts our good deeds too, and has forgiven us all of our sins. And remember, if nothing changes, nothing changes. So thank you from your future self after Eid, and thank you from me. May Allah allow us to witness Ramadan, accept our Ramadan, and Jazakumullah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.